In today's video, I would like to talk about low-calorie recipes. High-protein, low-calorie pizza, high-protein, low-calorie cheesecake and ice cream. The internet is full of them, and I would like to tell you the truth about it. Well, not really the truth. I would like to share my opinion, my perspective, okay? So the concept behind these recipes is very simple. It's to make lower calorie eating and getting into that calorie deficit more sustainable and more enjoyable. Okay, all of you watching this video know that in order to get lean and stay leaner, you will have to eat less calories than what you're eating currently. But eating lower calories is hard. Okay, you can either cut out the pizza and the cheesecake and the ice cream, start eating fruits, veggies, and the protein, but man, like that sucks. I mean, ice cream and pizza are much tastier than fruits and veggies. So that's hard. A lot of people don't like to do that. Nobody likes to do it, if we are being honest. Another option is to keep eating the pizza and the ice cream, but use extreme moderation. So instead of having the whole pizza or 10 slices of pizza, just have one slice of pizza or half a slice of pizza, and you fit it into your calorie budget. That's basically the whole premise behind if it fits your macros. Now, the issue with that is that for most people, after they had one slice of pizza, they just want to have more slices of pizza. Okay, after you had one slice, you don't just want to stop there, you feel like eating the whole thing. And if there's one rule during dieting, during trying to get leaner or trying to maintain a low body fat, is to not eat foods which make you want to eat more foods. You're supposed to get fuller after each bite of food, not hungrier, okay? So that's the issue there. Now, what if you turn this pizza into a lower calorie, higher protein, higher fiber pizza? So you get to eat all the tasty stuff, you get all the taste, but not all of the calories, so you can actually get to have fun and enjoy your diet as you're getting shredded. Like that would be the magic bullet, right? But is it the magic bullet? Well, sometimes. Sometimes not so much. Basically, the way I'm thinking about food selection in general, and I recommend that you adopt the same mindset, is that we can divide foods into 3 different categories. We have trigger foods, we have satisfying foods, and then we have bland foods. Okay, I was thinking of pulling a Mike Israetel and just calling them TF and SF and BF because he's amazing at trademarking these abbreviations, but SF, TF, really? Like that's kind of lame. So let's just call them what they are: trigger foods, satisfying foods, bland foods. Okay, what are they? Well, trigger foods are those foods that trigger you to eat more than you should. Okay, you eat them, and instead of getting fuller and more satiated, basically with each bite, your desire to keep eating that food just goes up. And by the time you actually reach the point where you feel satisfied, you have way overshot your caloric goals. You overate. Whatever your goals are, whatever your caloric allotment is, you ate beyond that. So those are trigger foods. Then we have satisfying foods. These are foods that you like, you enjoy eating, but they don't trigger you to overeat. If you eat them until satisfaction, you will not have overshot your caloric targets. All right? And then we have bland foods. Those are foods that, well, you definitely won't overeat if you eat those. In fact, you will have a quite easy time getting into a calorie deficit, but you also don't like them. It's like, well, okay, I will get to not overeat, I will get lean, but I also kind of hate life right now. All right, so these are the 3 categories. Now, it's not too shocking that my recommendation is that you eat satisfying foods for the most part. Now, the million-dollar question is, what are satisfying foods? And the thing is, that really depends. That depends on the nutritional phase you're in. Are you cutting? Are you maintaining? Are you bulking? It depends on how lean you are. Okay, the leaner you are, the hungrier you are. The fatter you are, the less hungry you are. So it depends on that. And it also depends to some extent on your kind of own individual genetic makeup. To give you a simple example, when I'm at the peak of a bulking phase, my body fat is nice and high, I've been in a surplus for a while, my appetite is quite low, raw veggies with some salt on it, they are bland foods to me. Okay, if I just eat that, I'm like, man, like what the hell is this? I just don't want to eat this. When I'm at my leanest and I've been dieting for 3 months, those are actually quite satisfying foods for me. And probably if you were to ask a bodybuilder 2 weeks before stepping on the bodybuilding stage at 5% body fat after having dieted for 6 months, those actually might be trigger foods for them. Okay, so like what these categories will mean to you will be dependent on a couple of factors. Another example, these protein puddings, which I really like eating. It's some German brand, it's Eichmann, well, probably not Eichmann, but some German brand, and the macros are pretty good. It's 150 calories, 20 grams of protein, it's a 200-gram little bucket, and they're really nice. Now, the thing is, they have a really nice texture to them, and being as lean as I am now, I have to admit they are bordering on being a trigger food for me right now. If I had 15 of them in my fridge, I would be probably tempted to eat all 15 of them in one day. Now, I clearly remember, 5 months ago, when I was more like 20% body fat, that was not the case. I could just have a couple of them during the day and I was good. Peanut butter, that's always a trigger food. I cannot imagine a scenario in which if you handed a jar of peanut butter to me, I would not be tempted to finish the whole jar. Probably there is some point where that's not the case, maybe 40, 50 kilograms of body fat from now. I haven't reached that point yet, so the only question is how much of a trigger food is it? But it's always a trigger food. Okay, so how does all of this tie into the whole low-calorie, high-protein fitness recipe concept? Well, in my opinion, when these recipes are doing their job well, what they do is that they take a food and they move it from the bland food category into the satisfying food category. So I will give you a stupid, retardedly simple example. It's hardly even a recipe, but it will serve to illustrate my point. Take raw veggies, cucumbers, tomatoes, zucchini, things like that, and boiled chicken breast. Okay? It's low calorie, you will definitely not overeat on them, or at least it will be very hard, but they're also super bland. Like the raw veggies have no taste, basically it's like chewable water. The chicken breast is chewy, it's kind of like meh. Now, if you put some salt and spices on it and you toss all of that into the air fryer, the veggies and the chicken get crispier. All of a sudden it tastes quite nice. If you sit down and eat that, it will be like, man, this is actually a pretty good meal. I like eating it. And you will also be full and satisfied by the end of the meal. So you took something bland and turned it into something satisfying. Another example, take frozen berries and take low-fat quark or skyr, okay? Again, amazing macros, but they're quite bland, okay? The frozen berries, they have some sweetness to it, but not a ton. The low-fat quark, yeah, the macros are great, high protein, low calorie, but also has basically no taste. Now, if you mix all of that together, you put some 0-calorie sweetener on top and some cocoa powder and cinnamon on top, it tastes great. It's a great dessert. In fact, I would say it's actually a great meal. So once again, you turn something bland into something satisfying. The end result is something that you enjoy eating, but it's still quite low calorie and quite filling. Now, what often ends up happening with these high protein fitness recipes is that they take foods from the bland or even from the satisfying category, and with enough processing and mixing and mashing, they basically turn them into trigger foods. Maybe they will become lower calorie trigger foods than the real thing would be, but at the end of the day, the end result is that you will have this amazing dish, this amazing treat, which once you had a slice, you just want to have more slices from it. And you don't get full and you don't get satisfied. Okay, so I will take an example, and this is super not a knock. It's just all context dependent. So I went on the website of Menno Henselmans, who posts some recipes every once in a while. And I saw this high protein cheesecake. And if I look at the ingredients, it's all great. Okay, it has some lower fat cream cheese, it has low-fat quark, it has frozen berries, omega-3 enriched eggs, 0-calorie sweetener, things like that. Now, I could pick out a couple of ingredients from this and I could put together a great cutting meal. Okay, if I take the frozen berries and the quark, the low-calorie sweetener, and I use some cocoa powder or cinnamon, once again, amazing fitness, low-calorie cutting dessert or cutting meal. But when I mix all of this together and I create this amazing high-protein cheesecake, one slice is almost 300 calories. Probably it's lower calorie and higher protein than the real thing. Yes, if I had a real cheesecake with the full-on ingredients and the sugar and all the fat, it would be higher calorie and much more problematic. But if I want to get to 9% body fat, I would probably still not want to eat this because it would just trigger me to eat even more of this. Okay, so this is where these low-calorie, high-protein recipes can become problematic. And I intentionally picked the recipe of someone that I really like and really respect, and he knows that. There are much lower hanging fruits here in terms of people that are really big on these revolutionary fitness recipes. You know exactly what I'm talking about, but this is where I think things can become counterproductive in certain contexts. Now, does that mean that, for example, this high protein cheesecake has no place in your fitness lifestyle? No, absolutely not. It's just context dependent. If you want to get super lean and you're getting hungrier and you're looking for ways to make your cutting process more fun, I would say that something like this might not be your best bet. There is actually value in keeping things fairly simple during your diet. You can still keep things satisfying. You don't want to be eating bland foods, but you don't want to create your new trigger foods out of lower calorie ingredients. A trigger food is still a trigger food. If you feel after one slice like you want to have 3 more slices and that would make you overshoot your caloric targets, that's a trigger food. What do I think is the real value of even recipes like this? Because I do think they can be useful for people in various contexts. Number one, I think they have a tremendous value for people who are freshly getting into the fitness lifestyle after maybe having fallen off the wagon for a number of months or a number of years, or maybe they haven't been on the wagon to begin with. So if you're relatively new to this whole thing, to the whole fitness lifestyle, eating whole foods, that sort of game, you've been kind of perpetually overeating in the recent past, you're used to eating super processed, hyper palatable foods, and the concept of just eating whole foods, more veggies, more fruits, higher protein stuff is just daunting to you because everything just tastes like cardboard, then I think these recipes can have a lot of value to offer you. Because that's the biggest challenge for a lot of people. You're so used to eating these super tasty stuff that when you sit down to eat something like what I suggested, frozen berries with quark and some sweetener, it still tastes like cardboard to you. So if you make something like this, then that kind of gives you an intro that, hey, actually eating more wholesome ingredients and higher protein stuff, it doesn't have to suck necessarily. So I think it can be a really nice kind of transitory strategy for a lot of people. So that's one context. The other context is if you're no longer dieting, you've been maintaining your body fat percentage for a long time, or maybe you're bulking, your appetite is getting lower and lower, and it kind of just becomes cumbersome to just eat these big salads and fruit salads and things like that. But you don't just want to eat crap in order to increase your energy intake, but you would like to eat something more energy dense, then playing around with things like that can be a great solution. Now, I myself, and that's just my personal preference and philosophy, I still like to keep things pretty freaking simple even when I'm not dieting. I still eat the salads and the fruit salads and the lean protein, and every once in a while, I will have some crap. I will go to a restaurant once or twice a week, and I will enjoy myself. I just don't do that all the freaking time. But that's me, and that's with the caveat that I don't like to cook. I don't like to spend a lot of time in the kitchen. When I go to the kitchen, I'm going there with the expectation that in 50 minutes, I will get to eat something. I don't like the whole idea of spending hours there cooking and preparing something for the future. But that's me. A lot of you might not be like that. A lot of people actually do like to cook. Okay, so that would be the third category of people that could actually benefit from something like this. If you enjoy cooking and experimenting with complicated recipes, then you might as well experiment with something that is lower calorie and higher protein. And maybe that will be, the gateway strategy for you to get your loved ones and family members into fitness because you're making these amazing high protein, lower calorie treats for them. So these recipes absolutely have a place, but it's context dependent. I would say that when you're trying to get very lean, and the leaner you're trying to get, the bigger the value there is to just keeping things simple. You can make lower calorie, higher protein treats that taste amazing, but the thing is, if it's a trigger food, then you're still shooting yourself in the foot. So in conclusion, basically the entire message of this video is, you want to eat satisfying foods. Don't eat bland foods because then your diet is just going to become unsustainable. And again, I hope you paid attention. Don't push back and don't say, well, but bodybuilders, when they're getting stage lean, they have to eat bland foods. They are bland foods to you right now with your current frame of reference. For them, being that lean and that dieted, those are not bland foods. For a bodybuilder or anybody who has been dieting really seriously to a very low body fat percentage, those bland foods, which seem bland to you, those are satisfying foods for them at the time. So wherever you are, eat satisfying foods for the most part. And trigger foods, I would say, don't keep them as a dieting staple. It's just not a workable and sustainable strategy for the most part. So that's my overall take on low-calorie, high-protein fitness recipes. They have a place, absolutely, they do have a place, but they're unfortunately just not the magic bullets that a lot of people make them out to be. So basically, that's my message for today. I hope this video was helpful and you found it informative. Comment, let me know what you think, subscribe for more content like this, and check out the show description if you want to be coached and mentored by me. You find information about all of that there. And with that, I'm gonna sign off for today, and we will see each other in the next video.